Hello again, all you Collabcast listeners. This is Captain Dave Jackson coming to you from mostly cloudy today, Hendersonville, Tennessee. I usually say sunny, but not today. We're mostly cloudy. No rain, no storms, but no sunshine either. So I'm super excited today to have with us our guest, Monica Adwani. Monica, welcome.
Thank you for having me here, Captain Dave. I really appreciate.
Our listeners are going to be excited to hear all the things you're doing. You're all over social media. You're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You're everywhere to be found. Podcasting and other ways, which is cool. And we want to talk and hear about that. So, but I like to start and let our listeners learn a little bit about you. So, born and raised in Puerto Rico, yes?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you have a big family?
Huge family. My dad has 12 brothers and sisters, and my mom has 5. So I have unlimited amount of cousins.
That's how I am. 13 on my dad's side, 12 on my mom's side. I have cousins that I've never met. We just have so many cousins. So, did you go, born and raised in Puerto Rico, did you go to school there as well?
I did. I went up to college there, graduated college there, and then did another degree here in Massachusetts when I moved here.
Okay. What was your degree in Puerto Rico?
I went to school for medical coding and IT, basically medical IT development. That was my background, and I did a minor in business.
Okay. I cannot tell you how many people in all my years in this industry I have met. They're in insurance, and their degree or education is in something completely different. Mine included. Mine was sports medicine. Nowhere close. Wow. Yeah, nowhere close to insurance. Loved sports, loved medicine, went to college for athletic training, sports medicine, and never worked a day in it. So, at what point did you leave Puerto Rico to come to the States?
I left Puerto Rico at age 20. So I've lived basically half my life there and half my life here.
Okay. What made that happen?
Love.
Okay.
I met my husband down there, but he grew up here, and he always wanted to come back home. So I told him, you can go. And then I joined him after I graduated school. I started my job search, and as soon as I found a job here, I moved. So,
and he's from Massachusetts?
He's Puerto Rican, but he grew up in Massachusetts,
so you live in the Boston area now?
Yes, I do.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. So you didn't have a degree in insurance. Most people don't. It's a big industry, but very few people intentionally, come to work in this industry. So how did that happen for you? What was your first day on the job in an insurance-related position?
Yeah, so after I came here, I was working in a lab because that was, medical field was my background. And then they decided to move out to California. So I had to start looking for a job because I wasn't going to go to California. And I landed a job at the research center with Liberty Mutual, supporting doctors and researchers and ergonomics and all sorts of different things that people don't know about insurance. And that's how I learned about insurance. And then the director of the center told me, well, if you're not pursuing your PhD, then I need to refer you somewhere else. So they actually put me into the management program with Liberty, and that's kind of how I got into the world of insurance.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Most people don't start with a carrier. However, I did as well. I started right out of college. I started with AAA in Iowa, my home state. So that's an interesting path. So from Liberty, that took you where?
So 8 years I was there, and then I changed into the independent channel. So I went to work with Matt Namoli and Zach Gould at the GNN Insurance with the Bubblehead guys.
Yeah.
Until the company was sold.
Okay.
About eight other years I was there.
Okay. So those who don't know, you just mentioned GNN Insurance, and there were two guys who were the owners in the Boston area. They've actually been on our stage at our IAOA conference before. And they created a marketing method, a marketing plan, a marketing program called Bobbleheads, and they called it Bobble On. I actually, hang tight.
You have your bobblehead. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Matt,
I'm not going upstairs to get mine. I still have mine too.
Yeah, Matt presented this to me on stage. So that's what they do.
Amazing.
They create customized bobbleheads. They take your image, your face, basically, from like a social media profile, and then they create a custom bobblehead. And that their process was to ship those to mortgage loan officers,
right,
as a lead in the door to get to talk to them. And it just created all kinds of open doors because people were like, oh, you're the bobblehead guys. Absolutely. Come on in. So,
sometimes with no idea.
No idea. Yeah. Just blind. They'd ship them out blind and say, hey, we're Matt and Zach and we're the bobblehead guys. I know that. So that's the story that you just talked about. And so you worked for them. How'd you get to know them?
We used to work together at Liberty back in the day. So I followed them on their new venture after, I think it was like a year or two after they opened doors. And one of my best friends was also working there. So we all were a very big family back from Liberty Mutual days. So we basically created a pretty special place. And then, they sold and everybody kind of went their own ways. And I just saw Matt actually in Phoenix a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
So it was great.
Very cool. That's a cool story. That's one I sort of knew a little bit about, but I don't think our listeners would have at all. So what did you do for Matt and Zach at GNN? What did you do for them?
I was their head of sales operations.
Okay. So you yourself weren't on the front line in sales.
No, I was their head. I started that. I mean, I wore many hats during the first 2 years because we were doing everything, right? It's a startup. So you have to do sales, you have to do service, you have to do marketing, you have to do admin stuff. At some point we were scanning checks, scanning everything. So we did a little bit of everything. We did what needed to get done. And once it was time to expand the team, we, went through the exercise of our unique qualities. And, I ended up heading the sales operation. And then Heather headed up their operations in terms of, HR and whatnot. So we had a pretty good team going on.
Cool. So after GNN, where did you land?
So after that, I went into soul searching because, 8 years at Liberty, 8 years with them. And I was like, what the heck am I going to do now? And I never really thought of like owning my own agency or anything like that. At least not until that point. So I left. I took a couple months off just to kind of figure out what I was going to do. And I started consulting. So I started consulting with different agencies across the United States in terms of, their operations and sales processes and whatnot. And I ended up partnering with Troy Thompson, opening Savvital, which is a virtual assistant company. And we've been in business now for almost 3 years, super strong, very nicely. And then a year and a half ago, I landed a partnership with my now partner, Tiago Prado, and we have an agency called BRZ Insurance, and we basically focus on servicing the Latino community. So, I went from employee to coach to now business owner. So it's been a pretty fascinating roller coaster, I will say.
So business ownership, does it suit you?
I think it does. Everybody says I'm a little bossy, but
when you're the boss, you have to be.
I love the journey, and I think most than anything, when you are doing whatever you're doing, pursuing your passion and actually with purpose, I think business ownership is not as difficult as people paint it to be. Yes, there is, financial pressures. There is things that, every day is an adjustment. For us, every day is day one. But it is fascinating. And I don't feel like, I work too much. I just get to do what I like to do.
Cool. So you have BRZ, and that's based in the Boston area, correct?
Yes, it is.
And do you have a staff?
Yeah, we have about 103 employees now.
103.
Yeah.
Holy moly. So what is do you have a niche or like an area of emphasis?
We do. We focus on Latinos. So it is not so much about the business model in terms of, CL or PL, but we do serve the Latino community and we serve it in their language. So all of our staff is trilingual. We have Spanish, Portuguese, and English speaking. Okay. And basically we focus on helping our own community.
Are you in more than one state?
We ride all the way from New Hampshire down to New Jersey, but we don't have physical locations there. All of our physical locations are in the state of Mass.
Okay. So who do you list as your top 3 carriers? Just offhand.
Well, we have some local carriers here that are one of my top 3. I will say Progressive is one of my top 3 that everybody knows about them. Right. And then I will say Safety Insurance is more of a local insurance carrier. And then we also have, let me see, I will say Guard and Openly. They're really, really good for us as well. Okay. But depends, which line of business we're talking about. But those are very good players for me.
Cool. So within your Latino community emphasis, are you focusing more on personal lines versus commercial lines within that community?
No, we lead with the commercial and the personal just eventually comes. So we definitely lead with the commercial. We deal with your, artisans, with your contractors, with your truckers. A lot of the jobs, we have a ton of entrepreneurs within the Latino community, but they are within a certain specific, trades, right? So we focus on trade. We focus on trucking, and we focus on just the white collar, Main Street business.
Okay, very cool. So 103 employees.
Yeah.
After, I know a year and a half, so you just missed COVID or maybe caught the tail end of it. So what's your model look like? Are 103 in one building? Are most of them remote? How's that all set up?
No, we have an in-house model. Now I have about 5 locations across the state, and then we have our own call center. So our call center hosts most of, I will say 70% of our employees, because we don't use our carriers as call centers because they can't really deliver the same experience as we can in their own language as they speak and the experiences that they have within, coming here as an immigrant or opening a business. So we provide all the resources for them in order for them to succeed. It's not just buy an insurance policy. So they come to us as a hub where they can find referrals to open a business, accountants, other things, mortgage lenders, anything that they will need in order to succeed and get settled, or, make their next move. So I will say 70% of my team is dedicated to that. And then I have my producers and I have my own finance team, my own marketing team, everything. I have it in-house. I don't delegate and I don't outsource anything.
Okay, very cool. Well, number one, congratulations on your success in such a short period of time. BRZ.
Well, the agency's been open for 5 years. I just became a partner, a year and a half ago. So it's been 5 years on the making.
So the agency overall is 6.5, 7 years old, something like that.
5.
5 years. So that's still pretty impressive. Over 100 employees. And I'm not going to even ask you to share, your revenue or premium numbers. Everybody wants to know that. But 103 employees ought to speak enough for the size of your agency. You're a little bit over a couple $1 million in premium. So, especially when you say you focus so much on commercial niches like trucking and all the others, on the commercial side of things. So kudos to you. That's very impressive.
Definitely been a learning curve because I come from a completely personal lines background, right? Definitely been learning a lot for the past year and a half, but it's incredible the things that I did not know, even being in the industry for more than 16 years. So I love this industry because of that. Every day is day one. You learn something new every day.
There's always a lot of education to gather. So, and it's amazing, isn't it, how much different commercial lines is versus personal lines? They're almost like night and day. Yeah, it's crazy.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what do you say today of your time? How much do you spend with Savvital versus BRZ?
Oh, that's a very difficult question because I work 7 days a week, almost 24 hours a day. I'm definitely...
Of your 100 so of 100%, how much would you say percentage-wise on that?
Oh my God. I will say it right now, it's more of like an 80-20. 80% at the agency, 20% at Savvital.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did Savvital come to be? How did that come about? I mean, I know Troy. I've known Troy for a long time.
Yeah. It came out of pain, really, because I worked with VAs for a very long time. I worked with VAs at GNN for a very long time, and we were trying to figure out, so he was trying to figure out how to best work out the staffing situation, right? And, between brainstorming and whatnot, it's like, hey, why don't we try it on our own? I've had experience, he had contacts, and we will just put our heads together, and it's like, okay, how much this is going to cost us to build, like what is the potential here, and the numbers make sense. So eventually, out of the blue, he called me one day and he said, we're going to do it. And I was like, okay, all right. And that's how it started.
So just so our listeners know, when you say he is Troy Thompson, who is owns an agency in the Minneapolis area. And I've known Troy for many years. He was one of our first members. So how did you happen to meet Troy?
I happened to meet Troy once in Boston, and I gave him and his wife a training session on sales. And then when I left GNN, I was traveling in Texas. I remember I saw his phone number pop up, and I was like, that's weird. And I didn't call him back for like 2 months because I forgot that he had called me. And then I called him and I was like, hey, I thought I saw a call from you, but that was like a long time ago. Like, how's everything going? I wasn't really ready to talk to anybody. I just wanted time off. So I called him like 2 months later, and he's like, well, I've been thinking of you, and, we want to chat. And then I went to Minnesota to visit him, and that was it. Like, we just connected, and I love his children. I love his wife. And our relationship just flourished from there.
Yeah, Troy's a good guy. He and his whole family came to visit me in Arizona, and they stopped in my agency office.
That's amazing.
This was 7 or 8 years ago, probably. So
no, I had the pleasure of helping him and helping his agency for a little while, and it was an absolute pleasure to get to know him such on a personal level, because I think, you know, from a friendship standpoint, he's someone that you will always want by your side. And from a business partner standpoint, like I just enjoy it because he has so many crazy ideas, right? And I am the one that is like, nope, we cannot do that. So it is fun. It is a roller coaster every day, and I love it. I enjoy it, and he's such a great person.
Yeah. He is. A lot of people know him as Mr. Door-to-Door Knocker.
Door-to-door, yeah.
Yep.
That's his motto.
That's his motto. And he just goes door-to-door, knocks on people's doors and said, hey, I want to talk to you about insurance. And he sells policies that way. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Very few people would want to do it that way,
Yeah.
but he does, and he makes a very, very good living at it. So good, cool for him. Yeah. So I also want to ask you about TranscendWithM. So this is a podcast that you have had for how long now? How long has it been around?
It's almost 3 years. Almost 3 years.
What made you get the itch to start TranscendWithM?
I was pissed off.
That wasn't what I was expecting to hear.
I was very upset. I was very upset with everyone. And I was like, you know what? I need to start something, and I need to talk to people. And it totally started with the wrong idea. But quickly, I identified that, you know, there was power in stories. There was power in getting to know the deeper side and the not so bright side of things of people, right? The ugly side that not a lot of us talk about. And understanding that the journey that each person goes through makes you be a little bit more grateful every day. So I do it because it is my reality check, and it is my way of putting out there a story that someone will learn from and will hear and will learn from. So it is very interesting because we talk about non-judgmental zones all the time. And when we see someone succeeding, we quickly go into saying, oh, I wish I had her life, or I wish, you know, I had the time. But they don't know what really took to get there. So I focus on showcasing that, showcasing the journey of like, hey, not everything you see, you know, came easily. So let's learn from this story. Let's learn from these people, these women that, you know, have fought to get where they are. And it became, you know, a way of networking, a way of connecting, a way of growing a network, a way of really understanding that your place is your place, and it's okay to be where you are when you need to be. And it is just a beautiful platform that has, you know, blossomed into something unexpected.
So is your format 100% you have a guest on your show, or do you do sometimes solo?
Nope. 100% of the time I do a guest.
Oh, very cool. Who is your target guest?
My target guests are women, even though I have interviewed some men, because they do have stories that are very important for us as well. And usually the women I interview are between the ages of 25 to 80, I will say. It's a very wide range. But they all need to have, they all need to showcase a platform of humbleness. And they also need to have some sort of story of success, whatever success means to them. And basically they come as referrals, you know. Somebody I know will say, hey, Monica, you really need to meet this person. She has an amazing story. I think people will love to hear it. And then I have a one-on-one, and, you know, either if I'm crying or I am just like, you know, completely with the chills, I have them on the podcast. And that's kind of like, if that was my reaction, other people will react like that. There's some that are funny. There's some that are, you know, absolutely incredible stories. But anything from stay-at-home moms to CEOs, like I have it all in there.
So it's all about the story.
Yeah, it's all about the story.
So at this point, now you're almost 3 years old. Do the guests end up finding you? You don't have to spend much time finding them?
No, I mean, the first year, I did a lot of cold reach, right? Like, oh, I've been following this person on social media. But then as the podcast started to get, you know, I don't know, I will
more
say
popular.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm popular or not, but I will say now most of them, about 80% of them, come as referrals, because just, you know, guests continue to send guests or friends that don't want to be in the podcast, but they are like super supportive, and they send people, networks that I am part of, you know, like BNI groups and stuff like that. You don't know where you meet people. Sometimes I'm at the restaurant and I hear people talking, and I'm just like the intrusive that goes, and it's like, hey, I didn't mean to overheard, but so I'm always with my ears open. You never know where a good story can be.
So that's your target guest. Who are your target listeners?
So my target listeners, I actually, surprisingly, it's about a 40 to 60% ratio. So I have about 40% men listening and about 60% women listening, all between the ages of, I will say 30 to 55 or 60. That's what have become in the past, I would say, year and a half.
Okay. As a podcaster, do you track your statistics, like
I
your
do.
listeners and the downloads you have? What are some of the parameters you look at?
I mean, I do look at the percentage of like listeners, if they are women, men, you know, non-binary, or like they define themselves as something else, because it's always important for them to have representation, right? And as a minority myself, I want to make sure that, you know, we showcase stories for everyone. And that's really important to me. Besides that, I've never used the numbers to dictate like my path of the podcast. I've stayed true to my purpose all the time. So regardless of if one person is listening or 3,000 people is listening, I've always followed the same protocol, because, you know, that's my purpose. So all I'm looking at right now, it's where they are listening to, if it's Spotify or Apple, or, you know, they going to the YouTube page or whatever, because that's important for you to kind of don't waste your time in platforms that they don't really go to. So you're not, you know, spending hours of, you know, creating content that doesn't work for that platform. And then, you know, who's listening. Those are my two things that I look at.
Who's your top platform right now?
Right now, for the listeners, my top platform is Spotify.
Did that just happen organically, or did you do something to drive traffic there?
No, I think a lot of people also have changed from like Apple phones as well. So Apple was like my first platform for a very long time. But then they kind of switched to Spotify, also because I am reaching more of the Latino community, and they use Spotify more than Apple. So I think that's what happened. Like my husband, for example, he betrayed me, and he now has a Samsung. Oh. So now I have an iPhone and he has a Samsung. And now he doesn't listen in Apple. He listens in Spotify. So, we can talk about that betrayal later. But,
Does he ever listen to your podcasts?
He actually does. He gives me idea. He gives me very, very critical feedback. I will say he's one of my biggest critics. But he gets also to listen when I'm doing them at home. So if he listen to it at home, he gives me the feedback right when I'm done. But he supports me in like different ways, that way, but he's my biggest critic. I get upset sometimes, due to it.
You're actually very lucky to have someone to do that for you. Not everybody who gets on the air has that luxury. I would love to have somebody do that for me. I don't have that, and it's okay, but it's not a bad thing for you to have somebody who is, supporting you as a family member and also in business. So that's a very cool thing, I think.
No, I mean, I love it. I just don't love it in the moment.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Right after you're done and you need to get hit.
Yeah, and I'm like super excited. I was like, wait like a day. Like, can you wait a day?
Right? At least one day. That's too funny. So, do you have a family? Children?
I do. I have an 11-year-old daughter, Veronica.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's it for me. I'm never going to say never, but I think that's it for me. Just one kid.
Veronica?
Yeah.
What is Veronica passionate about?
Oh, fashion.
Really?
She's she loves fashion. She is been in Taekwondo since she's 4 years old. She is a second-degree black belt. So Taekwondo, I'm a Taekwondo mom. So she's on the AAU. So now we're getting into traveling nationally to competitions and stuff like that. So she's entering middle school. And let's see how my life goes in the next, 5 years.
Good for you.
But she's awesome. She's a good kid. Entering teenage years. So I'm just, waiting and see. But she loves working with me. She does a lot of marketing. So weekends, we go to places and she loves talking to people and doing business development, and I pay her under a table. We spend a lot of time together working, I will say.
That's crazy. So you have an 11-year-old daughter on your marketing staff on the payroll. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's she supports mom a lot, and she likes to be involved. So I'm grateful for that. Most kids will want to stay home, but she tags along, and sometimes she stays, but she helps me. And she loves, in school now, they teach them all these things about marketing and Canva and all these things. So sometimes my stuff on social media, it's her. And she's like, Mom, I'm going to do a TikTok for you. And I was like, okay. And it's like, what do I need to do? And she's like, well, you got to stand here. I'm going to take a picture. Then you're going to go over there. I was like, okay. So she's pretty good about it.
So she's your Canva guru?
My Canva and my TikTok guru. I don't have a lot of TikTok things, but anything you see on TikTok is her because I don't even know how to work it.
Me either. I don't have an account. Never done. The way I look, here's how I look at it. There's enough social media out there. So pick a couple of platforms that you're comfortable with. You don't need 15 of them or 30 of them. I mean, you can if you want. You can if you want, but just stick with one or two. I know TikTok's all the rage now, but usually with the younger folks. But not always.
Well,
I see them online every day.
That's her platform, right? She's a Gen Z, so she's like, Facebook, Mom, what is that? That's not okay for her. That's for older people. I'm an old.
So old.
So, and even even Instagram for them is like, oh, Instagram, no. So TikTok is her thing. So I'm very intrigued to see what happens in the next couple of years. What else is going to be there? Because they don't use those. Like for her life is TikTok.
I know. And what would have TikTok got in a little trouble recently? So what would happen?
I know.
If TikTok close their doors tomorrow? What would these
I don't know.
kids do?
These psychologists are going to have a lot of patience because I don't know. These kids are addicted to that thing.
Oh.
So if at some point in time they get banned, it's just going to cost a lot of issues with their mental health.
No question about it. So we'll probably wrap it up here in the next 5 minutes. So that actually leads me into my next question.
Yeah.
Just a random question. On your phone, you have an iPhone, you said. So on your iPhone right now, what is your most favorite app on your iPhone?
Oh, my calendar app.
Really?
I cannot live without it. Like, if I don't get notifications, I will not jump on a phone call. I honestly can't live without my calendar.
So do you use the calendar built in, or do you have a special app for that?
Well, I have it connected to like Monday and to other things. So everything shows up in there in very nice colors and, whatnot. So I can't live without it.
So
it's my favorite thing in the world.
So our listeners who don't know, you mentioned Monday. Monday is an app.
Yeah.
Monday is a calendaring app, and it syncs with your other email, right? And calendars, email, calendars, Outlook or Gmail or whatever it syncs with. And so you use that to do for business and personal, or both?
I use it for both, business and personal.
Okay. And you couldn't live
everything
without
everything needs to be together, because I can't be looking at two different things.
No,
it's like,
that doesn't work.
I need to have it all together. So I have it for both. Like if I have projects happening in the house and projects happening at work, I need to see it all together. That way I can do time management and make sure that I am not overbooking myself, or if I have something important that I need to be on, my driving time, everything that needs to be there, everything is there.
That's cool. I've never looked at Monday. I've heard about it. I've never looked at it as an option. But so does it do the same types of things that Calendly will?
No, it does more.
More. Oh.
Yeah, because Calendly is just like a booking site, right?
Correct.
With Monday, you have project management. You have all these things that you can do. You have task tracking. You have all these things that are usually not on your regular booking platform, right? So I have it synchronized where, like, if a deadline is coming up or a due date is coming up for something, or I have to do something operationally for the agency, or I have to do something wrap up finances or something, meeting with whoever, everything pops up. So it says due date, this project, like everything, it's linked. So I truly love it. And I actually learned from it. I have heard Cassidy, our Belly, talking about it. But then I learned the possibilities when her and Teresa did a session for the Women of IAOA group. And that's where I was like, possibilities are endless. And I went and I bought it.
Very cool. So I was going to ask you a question about Monday. Do you use it more mobile or more desktop? Mobile. I'm guessing. Yeah. Like by a long shot?
By a long shot. Yes. It's very easy.
But it also does the booking portion as well, right?
Well, you need to have, for example, I don't run on Microsoft. I run on Google. So for me, it's a lot easier because you can just, link the Google and then it will go from there. So you really don't need to have 7 different platforms attached to it. You can actually do a lot with it and still not having to buy separate systems to integrate. So depending on how is that you operate, I would say you might need to. But the way I use it, it's pretty simple and pretty straightforward. And I just link it to Google and that's it.
Very cool. I want to let our listeners know before we let you go that you will have the honor of joining us in October in Chicago at our ninth, when I say our, IAOA's ninth annual conference. For those that don't know, IAOA stands for Insurance Agency Owners Alliance. In that group, we have 9,000 independent agency owners like Monica and myself. We just crossed the 9,000 member threshold here a week or two ago.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah. It's a cool thing. And it's not anything I did. It's just the result of a large group of agents who understood the mission and bought in to being a collaborative, innovative, and selfless group by helping each other. And I'm the original founder of that group. I'm the current CEO and founder. It started a little over 9 years ago, this last January. And it's a closed private Facebook group. We have multiple subgroups. One of those you mentioned, the Women of IOA. That's a ladies only group. And so you must belong to the main group first. Then a lady can join our Women of IOA group. And our conference is called Innovation. And this year, we move it around every year to a different city. This year's in Chicago at the Marriott Marquis, October 5, 6, 7, actually 4, 5, 6, 7. And you will be on stage presenting. Tell everybody what your topic's going to be. I know, but I want you to tell them.
So we'll be talking about operational success, how to take your business from, zero to the amount that you want, operating efficiently, in having the best processes, having the best process for people. So we'll touch base in a couple of different things, best practices and whatnot in order to, succeed in your agency, because it's not just all about sales, right? You have to operationally be well aligned in order to grow your business. And that's my forte, even though I've been doing sales and learning the entire operation of an agency. If you are not set up operationally the way that you need to be in order to remove yourself from the agency, it's going to be very difficult for you to scale. So we're going to talk about how to operationally succeed and scale your business, and having the right pieces in place for you to achieve that.
Yeah, I've consulted with mostly newer agents over the years a number of times, and there's so many milestones that they meet. Like many of them start out as a one-man show. So you do everything. You can wear all the hats. You do everything. And at some point, now you've sold enough business, it needs to be serviced. You just can't do it all yourself. You need to hire.
Right.
And so that's step one, my first hire. So that's a hurdle to get past. But when they do, it's like, oh my gosh, why didn't I do it earlier? And you can tell them that, but they don't realize it until it actually happens to them. And then the next thing is you talk about scale. So that's growth. And so the next thing is, how often do you hire? Do you bring on producers? And it just goes on and on and on. We could talk about that for hours. All day long. But so I want to thank you personally for joining us this October at Innovation. We're looking forward to hearing you and all your wisdom. And if anybody who is an IOA member, it's for members only, our conference. So we don't open it up to the outside industry. It's for members, our 9,000 plus members. Everybody who steps on stage like Monica is one of those members. So all presentations are peer-to-peer. And that's one of the things that our members love the most. Monica is going to talk on Friday or Saturday. And on Monday, they can take her information home with them to their agency and start to implement. Only one thing, or maybe two or three or whatever, but they'll know what's best for their agencies. And that's been the most popular part of our conference, and the reason why our members attend is because they get actionable, knowledgeable items that they can take home and use immediately, Monday morning.
Right.
So that's very cool. And so if you don't know and you're not a member of IAOA and you own an independent agency, you must have an ownership stake. Go to IAOA.com. It's very simple. You'll see information about how to join our group, our conference, our vendor partner program, our market access program, our agency listing program. We got a number of benefits for our members with a membership guide even. And we've got a number of things that we're working on for 2023. So Monica, last question. If our listeners want to get a hold of you, how would they do so?
I think the best way is either a Facebook message or LinkedIn. So just look for my name, connect with me, and then send me a message there because it will get to me faster than an email.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And then eventually you'll get into her Monday app, and that's where the action begins.
Exactly. Love it. Thank you for having me, Dave. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. The thanks go to you. And all our listeners are happy to have the time to be able to spend with you here online with us. So thank you and enjoy your weekend and take care. This is Captain Dave signing out to you from cloudy Hendersonville, Tennessee. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Collabcast with IAOA with Captain Dave Jackson. Production and distribution by Podsquad.fm, Riverside.fm, and Spotify for podcasters. Special thanks to Little Dog Social Media, Terry Champion, and all our guests and listeners. If you're an independent insurance agency owner, please subscribe to our podcast weekly. You can also request to join our agency owner exclusive Facebook group, IAOA, or Insurance Agency Owners Alliance at IAOA.com. Captain Dave Jackson signs out from sunny Hendersonville, Tennessee.